It's been a while since the last, but let's just get the ball rolling. It is me, Void, and I am here to guide you along VoidCAST Episode 1. And the first game that we'll be talking about today is Starfield, the new open world sci fi adventure coming from the creators of Skyrim and Fallout. Now, I have not been particularly excited for Starfield. I think for me personally, No Man's Sky really struck that itch for me, really scratched that itch for me. And I don't know, and I've never really been a fan of Bethesda's previous works. I attempted to play Elder Scrolls many years ago. I don't have any real memories of it. And the same goes for Fallout. I never really got into the whole Fallout post apocalyptic world. And the truth is, Starfield looks pretty much like Fallout in space, which I guess for Fallout players, that's a really great thing to see. For me, I am more cautiously optimistic. I would like to believe that, Bethesda is going a little bit harder on this game than they typically do. I think that the game will be good. I think that Bethesda has a lot riding on this game, particularly after multiple delays and all of the issues surrounding the Fallout 76 launch. It does appear that a lot more of the systems will be fleshed out. There'll be a lot more emphasis on exploration, adventure, more narrative driven experiences, which I'm totally okay with. I think we definitely I would definitely the game rather lean heavily on narrative than just simply running around in a barren wasteland. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed No Man's Sky. I just think that the bar has been raised, and I think that No Man's Sky needs to step up. And I feel like I remember some of the very early previews that we got for Starfield. It looked very much like No Man's Sky. And yes, I know I sound a bit like a broken record right now, but I do think that, between the two of them is pretty much what the same. I am a little bit, which is why I'm a little bit worried about the game. I am a little worried that the game will just devolve down into a very mining oriented experience, unlike, say, how should I put this? Like, there's nothing wrong with a mining experience. Terraria did it well, Minecraft did it well. No Man's Sky, again, it does it okay. I think that the grind in No Man's Sky is a little bit too much for me personally. But I do think that there is a lot to enjoy here in Starfield. It does look pretty. It does look good. However, on topic of how it looks, I'd like to point out that it very much looks like an old Bethesda game. It looks like Skyrim. It looks like Fallout. Um, Fallout was really good. The animation and whatnot, it was really good. But I feel like it looks a little bit too much like Fallout. It looks too much like that aesthetic. No, not the aesthetic, like the actual models and everything. And I understand the game promises to be very large in scope, and there is a lot left there. There is a lot that I am sure they have not shown to us yet. I would imagine they'd want to keep it closer to for reveal in release, and potentially even more. They probably just want players to be a little bit more surprised as well. I understand that, totally understandable. Now, I would also like to talk about what this means for space games or just really strong narrative games going forward. I know that there is Cyberpunk Phantom Libraries coming out later this year, and there are scenes in the trailer for Starfield that makes it look like we are going to get like a cyberpunk-esque experience in more of these cities, which, you know, again, it looks pretty interesting. I do wonder, the sheer length of development, and I think that Bethesda is going to make this a live service title after the fact. Instead of it demanding online play from day one, they'll probably try to go the Grand Theft Auto route, provide a strong narrative experience, and then just convert that narrative experience to a live service product. I mean, that wouldn't be the worst um, route to go, especially given how live services games have been recently. Unless you are the big players, Fortnite, Genshin Impact, you really can't survive on Roblox. But I mean, Roblox is its entire beast by itself. So I do think that following Starfield's narrative launch, maybe for 6 to 8 months, we'd probably see a online multiplayer component, much along the lines of Grand Theft Auto 5's online component. I have not played Grand Theft Auto 5. I know I received it for free on Epic Games Launcher, and I have been one of my friends decided that we'd play it together, and we just couldn't make it. Well, I personally could not make it past the first opening mission. I don't remember what the problem was, but there was a problem. All in all, I do think that there's a lot of hope riding on Starfield. I think that if Starfield fails, it's going to reflect extremely poorly on Bethesda. I think it will be much, much worse than their previous stumbles, because again, they had so much previous stumbles before. But I am interested to see it, to hear it. I am interested to find out, what the world is like. And I think that I personally think that Starfield is going to be a good game. I think it will live up to the hype for a lot of people as long as Bethesda is able to get it through the door. Get it out the door, sorry, in a playable state. I don't think we would need it to be 100% bug free. Video games of this scale are never bug free. Once it is playable enough that 99% of your players could play it without trouble, I think Starfield has real potential to do some really good things. So I am excited for Starfield. I won't be picking it up day one. I will probably wait a couple months, see how it goes, and see whether or not it does live up to the hype. Um, I will watch reviews, but I will try, because again, I have not really experienced a Bethesda game in a long time. So I will let the diehard fans, take the first crack at it before I and make sure that the obvious patches will come through. Following that, before I jump into the game. So I think that's will be my thoughts on Starfield. The second game that I'd like to talk about today is a bit of an older game. Well, I suppose a bit older than. Actually, yeah, it will be about over a year and a half. I'm talking about Pokemon Legends Arceus. I think that with the more or less the failure of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, it has made me look back on Pokemon Legends Arceus much more, how should I put it, much more favorably. I remember, I mean, don't get me wrong, I had so much fun in Pokemon Legends Arceus. I felt like it really was an evolution for Pokemon. And, I eventually learned that it was effectively a side project that was done as for lack of a better phrase, by the B team, you know? That's not the correct thing. They probably are a little bit more important than just being the B team. But it was not the main thing that they were working on. It was just something that they happened to release. But I think it was a real good, fantastic experience, one which, you didn't really expect. And it just showed up, and it was this surprisingly gorgeous open world. Now, I know people ragged on this game for its lackluster um, visuals, but honestly, I think the visuals really worked for it. Sure, when you looked off into the distance, it certainly shows that it is a less than stellar attempt. But the stuff right around you, just how everything behaves, it looks pretty decent. Again, it's not like it wasn't photorealistic. it really did feel like you kind of like looking into one of those old paintings, and I felt like, you know, it was actually pretty interesting to look at. You know, it may not have been pretty in most of the places, but I felt like it was interesting to look at. You know, the battle mechanics were pretty good. They introduced a lot of new stuff that unfortunately won't be carried across the other games, which is again unfortunate. The UI was vastly different. The way the game handles, the game plays. You know, I'm just gushing about the game right now, and one of the things that I wanted to speak about, excuse me, one of the things that I wanted to speak about specifically was, you know, for a game whose engine was kind of flawed from the start. You know, the Pokemon Legends Arceus engine. It wasn't the best engine. You know, as I say, there was a lot of graphical issues, graphical bugs. um, I think it still looked pretty good, but you know there were issues. You know, even the UI were extremely smooth to use. It was perfectly like tuned for the aesthetic. I felt like there was so much thought and effort went into this, and then we ended up with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. And you know, I sat there and I was looking at it, and Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, like everything other than the main game loop felt like it just needed more time in the oven. It just needed more time to really to get through it what it needed to do. Which is unfortunate because I think Pokemon Scarlet and Violet should have come out with its DLC. As in delay the game out from last year, brought in its DLC, and you know what? Let me rephrase that. I think Pokemon Legends Arceus would have been a fantastic swan song for Pokemon on the Switch. We know that the next generation Switch has been in development for a long time. We know that it is going to be released. We know that we currently have a internal estimate from leakers of sometime in 2024, maybe late 2024. They should have kept Pokemon Scarlet and Violet for the new platform. And I think Pokemon Legends Arceus should have been the last one. I think not just because you would have had more powerful hardware, but I think you would have given the Scarlet and Violet team a lot more breathing room to really amplify what Pokemon Scarlet and Violet could have been. Because there are a lot of good ideas in that game. And again, Pokemon Legends Arceus also has a lot of really good ideas in it. You know, so make sure I don't, you know, stray too far from my original topic. You know, there's a lot of really good ideas, and I would have loved to see Game Freak build on these ideas. You know, maybe hiring a new team and carry out the Legends series. You know, a little bit more fun, wacky. You know, take chances with the gameplay, the turn-based mechanics, because they did here, and you know it was good. It wasn't perfect. Seldom things are. I think that there is so much that they could have done with the Legends Arceus brand. Well, the Legends brand, and I don't know if Game Freak is willing to do that because a lot of stuff went in for this game. A lot of work, a lot of effort went in, even though it may look ugly to some people. Um, I think that you know it was pretty good. Uh, again, I'm sounding like a broken record here, but I think that for the most part, the ideas that Pokemon Legends Arceus introduced only for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet to completely undo it was a shame. I feel like it pretty much deserved a little bit more than that. Um, I definitely think it needed a little bit more Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, that is, a little bit more time. And I think Pokemon Legends Arceus will probably go down as the most underrated Switch Pokemon Switch title. And I don't think we truly appreciated it until Scarlet and Violet came out and we realized, oh, yeah, there was potential. We deserved better, basically. I did enjoy I did enjoy Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. So the final game I'd like to talk about today is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. So they recently announced DLC for this game, and this game will feature like the new DLC. Sorry, will feature a lot of really fun, like a new character and some palette swaps for the characters, which is actually entirely new sprites. I think so. I am very much excited for it. I played Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, and it is absolutely amazing. I cannot describe how good it feels to play this game. I know that for a lot of people, it's, a lot of people not going to really enjoy the game for its pixel art. I know there are snobs like that. They'll be like, "Oh my god, it's pixel art. Get with the times, etc., etc." But I think that Shredder's Revenge really leaned in on this really nice, clean pixel aesthetic that really set it apart from like the other pixel art in the games. But I've noticed that a lot of other pixel art in the games have, they've been adopting this this similar, very rounded pixel art approach. Is more like illustrations rather than, you know, specifically placing pixels. I'm not complaining about it. I just think it's absolutely gorgeous. Um, River City Gales is an example where you have a lot of blocky sprites. Um, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it is sprite based. I mean, it is very pixel art heavy, but it is not block. You don't see the blocks in the pixel art, which is pretty good. It feels very rounded, very soft, but at the same time, it makes out all the shapes and it feels like a real sprite. Okay, it feels like a real thing basically. I love also one of the things that I really glad that I think .amu had done this. What they really did was not only did they really lean into that whole 1980s kind of vibe, the aesthetic, the San Francisco criminal enterprise. That's something I didn't realize. Just on a side note, I didn't realize how much of 1980s movies and 1980s aesthetics is only because the entire place was just riddled with crime. It was really unsettling. Obviously, I looked at those things when I was a child, and well, after the fact, I was a child in the early 2000s. Yeah, so when I would see that, I didn't really internalize that under that child, but now that I look back on some of these things, and it's like, yeah, this could have only happened because of that rampant corruption and crime. It's very weird that that was the actual aesthetic, sorry, of that era. But overall, like, the illustrations for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was so gorgeous. It was honestly so amazing. I grew up playing a lot of these Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles games. And, you know, for me, I did not really expect them to be able to do justice to something like that. And somehow Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge manages to feel like something from that era, but completely modern. And it does take me back to when it was just me sitting in front of my computer, maybe emulating arcade games or not, because, well, obviously, I mean, I can't afford an actual arcade machine. Still can't. You could subscribe to my Patreon to help me afford a arcade, an actual large arcade. I'll probably make a video about that if I happen to get enough money for that. But let's not let's get back to the game. I really do like the illustrations, the background illustrations. I feel like, oh, especially the cities. The cities look so good. Like, again, I know it's just crime riddled and terrible, and there's the entire aesthetic in the background. But I have to say that it just looks so gorgeous. The newsrooms, everything. It just, it pops. It pops, and I had completely derailed from what I wanted to point out. Or I don't know if I pointed out before, but like I really, really like how colorful these games are. I really do think that, like, if you're gonna make pixel games, you need to really make pixel games very bright and very aesthetic, because even though when we were children and we playing those pixel art games, we don't remember them as dark and dreary and washed out, or hue saturated. I don't remember what the correct value is, but to us, growing up, it would have been bright and it would have been like something we never seen before. And I feel like Shredder's Revenge really does capture it. And I know that later on this year we're gonna get a new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, and it does carry some of its. I watched the trailer. It does carry a lot of the more dark and dreary aspects. They really did try to color it up and lighten it up though. So I'm pretty excited to see what that holds in store. But yeah, I can't get over Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. I know I never did a review of it. It's something I'd look into later on. I I haven't completed the game. I spent so much time playing through Yakuza and Spider Man that I didn't finish Shredder's Revenge. So I think Shredder's Revenge truly is, sorry, one of the best modern Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles games out there. All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode of VoidCAST. I know it has been a while. So those are the three games that I spoke about today. I think that there's a lot of cool games out there, and I'm hoping to just be able to relax and hopefully you all relaxed while we spoke about some of the more um, like just getting our thoughts out. Not everything can be said in a review, in a constrained review, and I hope that I'm able to speak a little bit more about the games that I like. Stuff that sometimes I just haven't completed enough to do like a full piece on. But yeah, I thank you all very much for listening out to the end of Voidcast. If you did listen out at the end of the Voidcast, drop a little emoji. Put a turtle emoji since we spoke about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and also, feel free to tell me one of your favorite stories of, growing up playing arcade games on the PC. I'd love to hear about some of that. Anyways, thank you all very much. Please be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you all next time for Voidcast 2, I guess. Thank you. The void calls. The void call, and you have answered.